Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that the stock market's biggest hero was also its biggest fraud. Imagine a man so powerful that when he bought a stock, the entire market followed. A man newspapers called the Big Bull. A man who became the face of India's financial revolution. Luxury cars, fame, television interviews, millions of admirers, and unimaginable wealth. But behind the success, a secret was hiding. A secret so large that when it was finally exposed, it shook India's banking system, destroyed investor confidence, and changed the Indian stock market forever. This is not just the story of Harshad Mehta. It's the story of greed, ambition, power, and one of the biggest financial scams in Indian history. Chapter 1: India before the boom. To understand Harshad Mehta, we first need to understand India. The year is 1990. India was a very different country. The economy was heavily regulated. Foreign investment was limited. Technology was primitive. The internet did not exist. Most stock trading happened through paper records. Orders were written by hand. Settlement could take weeks. Information moved slowly. And transparency was limited. Yet beneath the surface, something was changing. India's economy was preparing for one of the biggest transformations in its history. Economic liberalization was arriving. Markets were opening. Businesses were growing. Investors were becoming optimistic. And as optimism spread, the stock market exploded. Suddenly, everyone wanted to invest. People believed a new era of wealth had begun. And right at the center of this excitement was a man named Harshad Mehta. Chapter 2: The Rise of the Big Bull. Harshad Mehta did not come from immense wealth. He wasn't born into a financial dynasty. He started as an ordinary market participant. But he possessed something powerful: confidence, vision, and an extraordinary understanding of market psychology. He understood something many investors still fail to understand today. Markets are driven by emotions: fear, greed, hope, excitement. As India's economy expanded, Harshad began making increasingly bold bets. And they worked. Stock after stock began rising. Investors watched in amazement. His reputation grew. The media celebrated him. Television channels interviewed him. Financial newspapers followed his every move. Soon, Harshad Mehta became more than an investor. He became a celebrity. People believed he had discovered the secret to wealth. If Harshad bought a stock, others rushed to buy it too. His influence became enormous. But there was a problem. The success looked too good. The profits looked too large. And some people began asking difficult questions. How was he doing it? Where was all the money coming from? The answer would shock the nation. Chapter 3: How the Scam Worked. What happened next is one of the most important lessons in financial history. At the time, banks regularly traded government securities. These transactions involved enormous amounts of money. And they relied heavily on trust. Paper records, manual systems, and institutional relationships. Harshad Mehta discovered weaknesses inside this system. Weaknesses that allowed funds to move in ways they were never intended to. Money that should have remained inside the banking system found its way into the stock market. And with enough money, stock prices can move dramatically. Harshad used enormous amounts of capital to buy shares. As demand increased, prices rose. As prices rose, more investors entered. As more investors entered, prices climbed even higher. The cycle fed itself. The market looked unstoppable. But beneath the surface, the foundation was becoming increasingly fragile. Like a skyscraper built on unstable ground. Everything looked strong. Until pressure arrived. Chapter 4: The Collapse. Eventually, the truth began emerging. Journalists started investigating unusual financial activity. Questions multiplied. Documents were examined. Transactions were reviewed. And slowly, the scale of the problem became visible. The market's biggest success story was hiding a dangerous secret. When confidence disappeared, so did the illusion. Stock prices crashed. Investors panicked. Fortunes vanished. The man once celebrated as a financial genius became the center of a national scandal. Across India, people watched in disbelief. Many had invested their savings. Many trusted the market. Many trusted Harshad. And suddenly, that trust was broken. The crash exposed weaknesses not only in one individual, but in the entire financial system. The damage extended far beyond stock prices. It became a crisis of confidence. Chapter 5: How the Scam Changed India Forever. The Harshad Mehta scandal became a turning point. Because sometimes, a crisis forces change. India realized that growing markets needed stronger regulation. Transparency needed to improve. Technology needed modernization. Oversight needed strengthening. And investor protection needed to become a priority. This period accelerated major reforms. Electronic trading expanded. Market surveillance improved. Settlement systems evolved. Disclosure requirements strengthened. And perhaps most importantly, SEBI emerged as a far more powerful regulator. The goal was simple. Make sure something similar could never happen again. The modern Indian stock market we know today was shaped by the lessons of this scandal. In many ways, the future of Indian investing was born from one of its darkest moments. Final chapter: The Real Lesson. More than 30 years later, the Harshad Mehta story continues to fascinate investors. But the most important lesson isn't about one man. It's about human behavior. Every market bubble begins with a story. A story that convinces people prices can only go higher. A story that makes risk feel invisible. A story that turns caution into confidence. And eventually, confidence into complacency. The Harshad Mehta scam reminds us that markets reward knowledge. Not excitement. Understanding. Not speculation. The smartest investors don't follow heroes. They follow facts. Because in investing, the biggest risk isn't volatility. It's believing that rules no longer matter. And history has shown they always do. Today, India's stock market is larger, stronger, and more transparent than ever before. But every modern investor still benefits from lessons learned in 1992. Lessons written in billions of rupees. Lessons written in broken trust. And lessons that helped build the market we know today. At AlphaLens, we're not here to chase stock tips. We're here to understand businesses, markets, and the stories that shape them. Because the smartest investors don't just study success. They study failure too.